The last time Derby County won at the Den, Jason Knight popped up with a 69th minute winner. Jason Knight, no longer at Derby County, now at Bristol City. He will not be helping Derby this weekend as they try and overcome their away struggles. Millwall obviously head into this one with some problems of their own. Obviously, most recently, they've gone 2 games without win versus Cardiff and West Brom. But Derby County, on the other hand, went 3 games defeated in a row just a few weeks ago. You obviously then look at Derby County's away form going into this one. It's going to be very, very difficult. Derby County last won back in December of 2020 at the Den. Obviously, they have spent a season in League One, 2 seasons in League One since then. So this is going to be an interesting one to follow across. Obviously, as we head into this one, Derby County will be looking for the return of the likes of Callum Elder, David Ozoh, Liam Thompson, Tom Barkhazen, and maybe even Jake Rooney, who has been seen back on the grass. Millwall have some injury issues of their own with Billy Mitchell, Josh Corburn, and Tom Bradshaw looking to be doubts for this one. Amado Haku looks to be suspended for this one as well, so we're going to get into it in a moment. We're going to look at the recent head-to-heads of these two sides, despite the fact a lot has changed since these two sides last went head-to-head. We're going to look at the previous 5 and go into making a team predictions, but before we do go into that one, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and turn on that notification bell. You'll see in the corner we've set a goal of 1,500 to hit by New Year. If we can do that, it'll be absolutely amazing. I'm pretty sure the support on this channel is absolutely flying. We've tried a few things and it hasn't quite gone to plan, but let's get back onto basics and let's get into this review versus Millwall. So here we have it then. Derby County face up against Millwall at the Den, and as you can see, it's a pretty even fixture. 8 wins, 6 draws and 6 wins for Derby. Obviously, the last time these two sides played in the Championship was in February of 2022, when Derby County started a bit of an away struggle back then as well. I think we went 8 without win away from home, 8 without a point away from home in that season, which was obviously really, really disappointing for those travelling fans. But if we go back to March of 2021, another defeat versus Millwall on the road. The last time we beat them was in 2020. The time before that was Louis Sibley's hat-trick in COVID times. What an interesting game that was. And I think when we look at this game, you look at the injuries to both sides. There's some big players missing for Derby County, the likes of Callum Elder, David Ozoh, Liam Thompson, I think is a massive player, Tom Barkhazen, all missing. Tawanda Chiwa looks to have picked up an injury as well, set to be out for 4 to 8 weeks, as Paul Warne mentioned after the most recent game. Now, I believe that the likes of Callum Elder, David Ozoh, Liam Thompson and Tom Barkhazen are all back in training. Jake Rooney is back on the grass, but probably are still a few weeks away. I think he'll get some minutes with the under-21, so he's not really in my thinking for when it comes to looking at team selection or anything like that. You look at the Millwall team, obviously Billy Mitchell looks to be out, Josh Corburn and Tom Bradshaw. It's disappointing for them, but you look at some of the players they've got available to them as well, the likes of Macaulay Langstaff, who they bought in this summer. I think they'll be just fine. Now, if we look at the previous results of these two sides, Derby County have won 2 versus Cardiff City and Queen's Park Rangers, lost 3 in a row versus Sheffield United, Norwich City and Sunderland. Millwall, on the other hand, 2 draws in there versus QPR and West Brom, defeats to Cardiff and Luton, and a win versus Preston North End. I think if we do go and look at the league table for these two sides, Derby County are sitting in a really healthy position of 12th, 12 points after 9 games. Really, really good for me. Obviously, what is going to be more important for Derby County is picking up that away form. In my opinion, with 38 points away from safety at this point, I think 50 points is the magic number. Once you hit that, you can start to sort of set yourself up for next season. You look then at Millwall, down there, 9 points after 9 games, 1 point a game, puts you on 46 at the end of the season. I think 50 is the magic number. But obviously, a loss for Millwall could see them drop into the relegation zone. A win could see them rise as high as 10th. Derby County could rise all the way up to 7th position if results go their way. For me, this is a very, very interesting one. I think you look at the Millwall squad and some of the players in this team. I really like Lucas Jensen. I really like Joe Bryan and Cooper. I think there's some really good players in this team. Obviously, Tanganga is a player who you cannot dismiss. Obviously joining on a free transfer, I believe, either this summer or last, after a spell on loan from Spurs, and he's just gone from strength to strength. You look in the midfield, George Saville is a player who's been around for years and years and just always seems to put in good performances. Can be a little bit dirty though, in my opinion. You look at the forward line as well, obviously missing Tom Bradshaw and Josh Corburn, but obviously Macaulay Langstaff, Watmore and Femi Aziz, really good players to put into this team. If we do look at the danger men for them, then who are the top goal scorers? Duncan Watmore. George Honeyman's a player to look out for on the assist category. Make sure that you don't forget about Macaulay Langstaff. We've seen what he can do in Notts County colours. Is he going to be able to translate it to Millwall? We're just scrolling through some of the numbers here, and obviously Honeyman, Langstaff and Watmore all showing up again here. George Saville showing up on the XA stats, which is obviously massive. Joe Bryan on the chances created. I think there's some really good players in this team, but they do miss chances, and that's something which we have to acknowledge. I do think it's going to be a very interesting game between these two sides. I think when you look at their recent fixture versus West Brom, I think this was a really good performance from them in a defensive capacity, only allowing 0.73 XG off 80% possession. It's disappointing from West Brom, but an unbelievable performance from Millwall in those defensive areas, and Jensen and Leonard, McNamara putting in a real shift in that back line. And for me, I think you can't look away from defensive solidity when it comes to away performances, especially when you're away against some of those top sides. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Neil Harris, but I think he's got a job to do at stabilising this team at the Den, and I do think they'll be in a good position. Now, if we look at the Derby County squad, I think Marcus Harness will certainly be one, a shoe-in for another game. I think Jerry Yates really needs to get that goal. I think that's something we're missing, is those goals from the strikers, maybe something which will help us. You look, Curtis Nelson leading the way with goals per 90. Marcus Harness, unbelievable player in my opinion. I think he's done really well. Now, if we do go over and take a look at the team that I've predicted, it's pretty much the same, apart from we're dropping Mendez-Lang for Blackett-Taylor. Not because I don't think Mendez-Lang can play or isn't good enough, but I think I believe they're playing Costa Rica either today or they played them yesterday as I'm recording this video, and I think Mendez-Lang does a lot of travelling with Guatemala, and it's one of those where I think give him a game out, keep him fresh for the midweek games maybe, but I think Blackett-Taylor's done enough to earn a slot in the side. And I think with Caden Jackson and Mendez-Lang, it is really a toss-up. Now, the big question is, Caden Jackson hasn't been on international duty, so keeping him around the building and knowing his fitness levels obviously changes perspective a lot. Obviously, for me, I think Fozzie, I think that back four doesn't need to change. Zetterstrom, unbelievable so far. When Ozoh's fit, I think Ozoh will play this role here next to Adams, and Kenzo will stay here. I do personally think that it will be a big debate once Ozoh is fit, is who does he replace. I think Harness was excellent versus QPR, and I think heading into this one away from home, you need that man in the middle of the park that can link the play between the strikers and the midfielders. Obviously, the likes of Blackett-Taylor and Caden Jackson, I think they speak for themselves. Blackett-Taylor has been really good off the bench in recent weeks. Scored versus Norwich, put in a really good performance off the bench versus Sunderland, and I thought he was really good against QPR when he came off as well. Jackson, I'm very 50-50 on him at the minute. I think he's got a long way to go. Obviously, he is towards the back end of his career, and I just think he needs to go at his man a little bit more, and that's something which we'll obviously, in my opinion, see over the course of the next few weeks. Jerry Yates is absolutely dying for that first goal of the season, and I do think it'll come hopefully against Millwall, because I think Jerry Yates has been unbelievable in build-up play and with bringing players into the game. Now, the big conversation topic for me around this team is going to be this number 10 role with Marcus Harness, and it's not necessarily because I don't think Harness should play. It's more because if David Ozoh is fit and available, he's got to play, in my opinion. I think he's one of our better midfielders. I think he's better than Ibu Adams. I think maybe not better than Kenzo, but they offer different things. And I think with having Ozoh in there, I think it gives a bit more freedom to Kenzo, who can push a little bit higher and support Harness a little bit more. And it's one of those for me where with Ibu, you have to be a little bit more tactical minded with Kenzo's position and Kenzo's role, because he's essentially got to do the technical build-up. He's got to pick up the ball off the centre-halves. He's got to pick up the ball off the full-backs. He's got to spread out to get them passing lanes in. And for me, don't get me wrong, Ibu Adams can play football, but on the ball, I don't think he's the greatest. And that is the big discussion that I've had with myself and on this channel a few times. I think I spoke about it in the summer when they were talking about transfer fees of up to over £1 million for him. And I'm not going to say he isn't worth the money we've paid for him, because I believe we paid £500,000, which is more in the region of what I was expecting. But it's one of those for me where his technical ability sort of isn't as good as his defensive ability, and it sort of changes the whole perspective of the midfield when he's in there. I think he offers a lot of defensive support, and I do really like that, but it's one of those things which is something that will be looked at over the course of the season. I think away from home, getting Kenzo and Harness on the ball, getting the ball to Blackett, Taylor and Jackson is going to be absolutely massive. You've got a solid back four there. Niambi will support but stay deep. Fozzie will support, and he's got that first time whip into the box in a brilliant position. Now, obviously, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I do think this is going to be a big talking point over the next few weeks, this Ibu Adams, David Ozoh battle, which will be coming. Whether it's for the Millwall game or not, I'm not entirely sure. I think it might be a little bit too soon. I think we're probably potentially looking at Tuesday, maybe even the Hull game, before we actually see David Ozoh back in the starting lineup. But it's one of those for me. If Ozoh is fit and available, he's got to be involved in some capacity. And obviously, let me know your thoughts down below. I think we've had a fairly decent start to the season. I think this one is going to be an absolutely massive game. I think this next run of 6 fixtures, I'm going to have a video out about it in the next few days. I think this is a really important run. Millwall near us, Oxford near us, Hull near us, Stoke near us, Coventry near us, Plymouth near us. Really, really important games for us, and that's something which I'm going to look at in another video. Now, if you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and turn on that notification bell to stay tuned for all of my latest content. We head into this one versus Millwall. It's going to be difficult, and I'm really interested to hear what you guys think. So make sure you let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Obviously, Derby currently sit 12th in the division. Millwall sit 18th. They're very similar when it comes to goals scored and goals conceded. And obviously, points, we're only 4 points ahead, 3 points ahead, I think, with Derby obviously against Millwall. So it's going to be really interesting to see what does happen. Let me know your thoughts down below. I know it's going to be a very difficult game away on the road. We normally struggle against Millwall away. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you in my next video.